How come no one told us that Grover got a girlfriend? Wow. At least I thought that's what she said. But that made no sense. Grover with a girlfriend? When I looked at Juniper very closely and realized her ears were slightly pointed. Her eyes, instead of being red from crying, were tinged green, the color of chlorophyll. She was a tree nymph, a dryad. I think it's really cute. Grover found a girlfriend. He'd always been looking for love and a girlfriend, and it's cute. Master Underwood, the council member on the right shouted, cutting off whatever Grover was trying to say. Do you seriously expect us to believe this? But Silenius, it is the truth, Grover stammered. The council guy, Silenius, turned to his colleagues and muttered something. Chiron cantered up to the front and stood next to them. I remembered he was an honorary member of the council, but I'd never thought about it much. The others didn't look very impressive. They reminded me of the goats in a petting zoo. Huge bellies, sleepy expressions, and glazed eyes that couldn't see past the next handful of goat chow. Whatever, I wasn't sure why Grover looked so nervous. Silenius tucked his yellow polo shirt over his belly and adjusted himself on his rosebush throne. Master Underwood, for 6 months, we've been hearing these scandalous claims that you heard Wild God Pan speak. But I did. Impudence, said the elder on the left. Now, Maron, patience, Chiron said. Patience indeed, Maron said. I've had it up to my horns with this nonsense. As if the wild god would speak to him. That's just rude. It's up to the god who they want to speak to. Juniper looked like she wanted to charge the old serpent and beat him up, but Annabeth and Clarice held her back. Wrong fight, girlie. Wait, Clarice muttered. I don't know what surprised me more. Clarice holding somebody back from a fight, or the fact that she and Annabeth, who despised each other, almost seemed like they were working together. For 6 months, we have indulged you, Master Underwood, Silenius continued. We let you travel. We allowed you to keep your searcher's license. We waited for you to bring proof of your preposterous claim. And what have you found in 6 months of travel? I just need more time, Grover pleaded. Nothing. You have found nothing, the elder in the middle chimed in. But Silenius raised his hand. Chiron leaned in and said something to the satyrs. The satyrs didn't look happy. They muttered and argued among themselves, but Chiron said something else, and Silenius sighed. He nodded reluctantly. Master Underwood, we will give you one more chance, Silenius announced. Grover brightened. Thank you. One more week. What? But sir, that's impossible. One more week, Master Underwood, and then if you cannot prove your claims, it will be time for you to pursue another career, something to suit your dramatic talents. Puppet theater, perhaps, or tap dancing. But sir, I can't lose my searcher's license. My whole life, this meeting of the council is adjourned, Silenius said. And now let us enjoy our noonday meal. All of this. This is why I hate teachers. There used to be these type of teachers in my university. They would be extremely rude to you, all because they were hungry. The old satyr clapped his hand, and a bunch of nymphs melted out of the trees with platters of vegetables, fruits, tin cans, and other goat delicacies. The circle of satyrs broke and charged the food. Grover walked dejectedly towards us, his faded blue t-shirt and a picture of satyr on it. It read, "Got hooves?" "Hi, Percy," he said, so depressed he didn't even offer to shake my hand. "That went well, huh?" Those old goats. Oh, Grover, they don't know how hard you've tried, Juniper said. There is another option, Clarice said darkly. No, no, Juniper shook her head. Grover, I won't let you. His face was ashen. I'll have to think about it. But we don't even know where to look. What are you talking about? I asked. In the distance, a conch horn sounded. Annabeth pursed her lips. I'll fill you in later, Percy. We'd better get back to our cabins. Inspection is starting. It didn't seem fair that I'd have to do cabin inspection when I just got to camp. But that's the way it worked. Every afternoon, one of the senior counselors came around with papyrus scroll checklist. Best cabin got first shower hour, which meant hot water guaranteed. Worst cabin got kitchen patrol after dinner. The problem for me, I was usually the only one in the Poseidon cabin. And I'm not exactly what you called neat. The cleaning harpies only came through on the last day of summer, so my cabin was probably just the way I'd left it on winter break. My chocolate wrappers and the crisp bags still on my bunk, my armor for capture the flag lying in pieces all around the cabin. I raced towards the commons area, where the 12 cabins, one for each Olympian god, made a U around the central green. The Demeter kids were sweeping out theirs, making fresh flowers grow in their windows boxes. Just by snapping their fingers, they could make honeysuckle vines bloom over their doorway and daisies cover their roof, which was totally unfair. I don't think they ever got last place in inspection. The guys in the Hermes cabin were scrambling around in panic, stashing dirty laundry under their beds and accusing each other for taking stuff. They were slobs, but they still had a head start on me. Over at the Aphrodite cabin, Selena Beauregard was just coming out, checking items off the inspection scroll. I cursed under my breath. Selena was nice, but she was an absolute neat freak, the worst inspector. She liked things to be pretty. I didn't do pretty. I could almost feel my arms getting heavy from all the dishes I would have to scrub tonight. The Poseidon cabin was at the end of the row of male god cabins on the right side of the green. It was made of grey shell encrusted sea rock, long and low like a bunker, but it had windows that faced the sea and it always had a good breeze blowing through it. I dashed inside, wondering if I maybe could do a quick under the bed cleaning job like Hermes guys, and I found my half brother Tyson sweeping the floor. Percy! He bellowed. He dropped his broom and ran at me. If you never have been charged by an enthusiastic cyclops wearing a flowered apron and a rubber cleaning gloves, I'm telling you, it'll wake you up quick. Hey, big guy. Ow, watch the ribs, I said. I managed to survive his bear hug. He put me down, grinning like crazy, his single calf brown eye full of excitement. His teeth were as yellow and crooked as ever, and his hair was as rat's nest. He wore ragged triple XL jeans and a tattered flannel shirt under his flowered apron. But he was still a sight for sore eyes. I hadn't seen him in almost a year, since he'd gone under the sea to work at the Cyclops forges. You are okay, not eaten by monsters? He asked. Not even a little bit. I showed him that I still had both arms and legs, and Tyson clapped happily. Yay! Now we can eat peanut butter sandwiches and ride fish ponies. We can fight monsters and see Annabeth and make things go boom, he said. I hoped he didn't mean all at the same time. But I told him absolutely we'd have a lot of fun this summer. I couldn't help smiling. He was so enthusiastic about everything. But first, we've got to worry about the inspection. We should. Then I looked around and realized Tyson had been busy. The floor was swept, the bunk beds were made, the saltwater fountain in the corner had been freshly scrubbed so the coral gleamed. On the window sills, Tyson had set out water-filled vases with sea anemones. and strange glowing plants from bottom of the ocean, more beautiful than any flower bouquets the Demeter kids could whip up. Tyson, the cabin looks amazing. He beamed. See the fish ponies? I put them on the ceiling. A herd of miniature bronze hippocampi hung on the wires from ceiling, so it looked like they were swimming through the air. I couldn't believe Tyson, with his huge hands, could make things so delicate. Then I looked over at my bunk and I saw my old shield hanging on the wall. You fixed it! The shield had been badly damaged in a manticore attack last winter, but now it was perfect again. Not a scratch. All the bronze pictures of my adventures with Tyson and Annabeth in the sea of monsters were polished and gleaming. I looked at Tyson. I didn't know how to thank him. Then somebody behind me said, "Oh my." Selena Bodegard was standing in the doorway with her inspection scroll. She stepped into the cabin, did a quick twirl, then raised her eyebrows at me. "Well, I had my doubts, but you clean up nicely, Percy. I'll remember that." She winked at me and left the room. Tyson and I spent the afternoon catching up and just hanging out, which was nice after a morning of getting attacked by demon cheerleaders. We went down to the forge and helped Beckendorf from the Hephaestus cabin with his metalworking. Tyson showed us how he'd learned a craft magic weapons. Two craft magic weapons. He fashioned a flaming double-bladed war axe so fast even Beckendorf was impressed. While he worked, Tyson told us about his year under the sea. His eyes lit up when he described the Cyclops' forges and the palace of Poseidon, but he also told us how tense things were. The old gods of the sea, who'd ruled during Titan times, were starting to make war on our father. When Tyson had left, battles were raging all over the Atlantic. Hearing that made me feel anxious, like I should be helping out, but Tyson assured me that Dad wanted us both at camp. "Lots of bad people above the sea too," Tyson said. "We can make them go boom." Yes, Tyson, we can make them go boom. After the forges, we spent some time at the canoe lake with Annabeth. She was really glad to see Tyson, but I could tell she was distracted. She kept looking over the forest like she was thinking about Grover's problem with the council. I couldn't blame her. Grover was nowhere to be seen, and I felt really bad for him. Finding the lost god Pan had been his lifelong goal. His father had and his uncle had both disappeared following the same dream. His uncle his uncle technically didn't disappear. He was killed by Medusa. Oh, we see that in the first book, actually. Grover had heard a voice in his head, "I await you," a voice he was sure belonged to Pan. But apparently his search had led nowhere. If the council took away his searcher's license now, it would crush him. "What's this other way?" I asked Annabeth. "The thing Clarice mentioned?" She picked up a stone and skipped it across the lake. "Something Clarice scouted out. I helped, I helped her a little this spring, but it would be dangerous, especially for Grover." "Goat boy scares me," Tyson murmured. I stared at him. Tyson had faced down fire-breathing bulls and sea monsters and cannibal giants. "Why would you be scared of Grover?" "Hooves and horns, and goat fur makes my nose itchy," Tyson muttered nervously. And that pretty much ended our Grover conversation. Before dinner, Tyson and I went down to the sword arena. Quintus was glad to have company. He still wouldn't tell me what was in the wooden crates, but he did teach me a few sword moves. The guy was good. He fought the way some people play chess, like he was putting all the moves together and you couldn't see the pattern until he made the last stroke and won with a sword at your throat. "Good try, but your guard is too low," he told me. He lunged and I blocked. "Have you always been a swordsman?" I asked. He patted my overhead cut. "I've been many things." He jabbed and I sidestepped. His shoulder strap slipped down and I saw the mark on his shoulder. The purple blotch. It wasn't a random mark. It had a definite shape. A bird with folded wings, like a quail or something. "What's that on your neck?" I asked, which was probably a rude question, but you can blame my ADHD. I tend to just blurt things out. Quintus lost his rhythm. I hit his sword hilt and knocked the blade out of his hand. He rubbed his fingers, then shifted his armor to hide the mark. It wasn't a tattoo, I realized. It was an old burn, like he'd been branded. A reminder. He picked up his sword and forced a smile. "Now, shall we go again?" He pressed me hard, not to give me time for any more questions. While he and I fought, Tyson played with Mrs. O'Leary, whom he called the little doggy. They had a great time wrestling for the bronze shield and playing Get the Greek. By sunset, Quintus hadn't even broken a sweat, which seemed kind of strange, but Tyson and I were both hot and sticky, so we hit the showers and got ready for dinner. I was feeling good. It was almost like a normal day at camp. Then dinner came and all the campers lined up by the cabins and marched into the dining pavilion. Most of them ignored the sealed fissure in the marble floor at the entrance, a 3-meter long, jagged scar that hadn't been there last summer, but I was careful to step over it. "Big crack. Earthquake, maybe?" Tyson said when we were at the table. "No, not an earthquake," I said. I wasn't sure I should tell him. It was a secret only Annabeth, Grover, and I knew. But eye, I think. Looking in Tyson's big eye, I knew I couldn't hide anything from him. "Nico D'Angelo," I said, no, lowering my voice. "He's this half-blood kid we brought to camp last winter. He asked me to guard his sister on a quest, and I failed. She died, now he blames me." Tyson frowned. "So he put a crack in the floor? These skeletons attacked us?" I said. "Nico told them to go away, and the ground just opened and swallowed them." Nico, I looked around to make sure no one was listening. "Nico is son of Hades." Tyson nodded thoughtfully. "The god of dead people." "Yeah. So Nico boy is gone now?" I I guess. I tried to search for him this spring, so did Annabeth, but we didn't have any luck. This is secret, Tyson, okay? If anyone found out that he's son of Hades, he would be in danger. You can't even tell Chiron. "The bad prophecy," Tyson said. "Titans might use him if they knew." "He's so smart." I stared at him. Sometimes it's easy to forget that as big and childlike as he was, Tyson was pretty smart. He knew that the next child of big three gods, Zeus, Poseidon, or Hades, would turn 16 who turned 16 was prophesied to either save or destroy Mount Olympus. Most people assumed that meant me, but if I died before I turned 16, the prophecy could just as easily apply to Nico. Exactly, so mouth sealed, Tyson promised, like the crack in the ground. He is so sweet, seriously. I had trouble falling asleep that night. I lay in bed listening to the waves on the beach and the owls and the monsters in the woods. I was afraid once I drifted off I'd have nightmares. See, for half-bloods, dreams are hardly ever just dreams. We get messages. We see things that are happening to our friends or enemies. Sometimes we even glimpse the past or the future. And at camp, my dreams were always more frequent and vivid. So I was still awake around midnight, staring at the bunk bed mattress above me, when I realized there was a strange light in the room. The saltwater fountain was glowing. I threw off the covers and walked cautiously towards it. Steam rose from the hot salt water. Rainbow colors shimmered through it. Though there was no light in the room except for the moon outside. Then a pleasant female voice spoke from the steam. "Please deposit 1 drachma." I looked over at Tyson, but he was snoring. He sleeps about as heavily as a tranquilized elephant. I didn't know what to think. I'd never had a collect iris message before. One golden drachma gleamed at the bottom of the fountain. I scooped it up and tossed it through the mist. The coin vanished. Oh, Iris, goddess of rainbow, show me whatever you need to show me. The mist shimmered. I saw the dark shore of a river. Wisps of fog drifted across black water. The beach was strewn with jagged volcanic rock. A young boy squatted at the river bank, fending a campfire. The flames burned unnatural blue color. Then I saw the boy's face. It was Nico D'Angelo. He was throwing pieces of paper into the fire. Mythomagic trading cards, part of the game he'd been obsessed with last winter. Nico was only 10, or maybe 11 by now, but he looked older. His hair had grown longer, it was shaggy and almost touched his shoulders. His eyes were dark. His olive skin had turned paler. He wore ripped black jeans and a battered aviator's jacket that was several sizes too big, unzipped over a black shirt. His face was grimy, his eyes a little wild. He looked like a kid who'd been living on the streets. I waited for him to look at me. No doubt he'd get crazy angry, start accusing me of letting his sister die, but he didn't seem to notice me. I stayed quiet, not daring to move. If he hadn't sent this Iris message, who had? Nico tossed around trading cards into the blue flames. Useless. I can't believe I ever liked this stuff. A childish game, master, another voice agreed. It seemed to come from near the fire, but I couldn't see who was talking. Nico stared across the river. On the far shore was the black beach shrouded in haze. I recognized it, the underworld. Nico was camping at the edge of the river Styx. I failed. There's no way to get her back. The other voice kept silent. Nico turned towards it doubtfully. Is there? Speak. Something shimmered. I thought it was just firelight, then I realized it was a form of a man. A wisp of blue smoke. A shadow. If you looked at him head on, he wasn't there. But if you looked out of the corner of your eye, you could make out his shape. A ghost. It has never been done, the ghost said. But there may be a way. Tell me, Nico commanded. His eyes shone with fierce light. An exchange. A soul for a soul. The ghost said. I've offered, not yours. You cannot offer your father a soul he will eventually collect anyway, the ghost said. Nor will he be anxious for the death of his son. I mean, a soul that should have died already. Someone who has cheated death. Not that again. You're talking about murder. Nico's face darkened. I'm talking about justice. Vengeance, the ghost said. Those are not the those are not the same thing. The ghost laughed dryly. You will learn differently as you get older. Nico stared at the flames. Why can't I at least summon her? I want to talk to her. She would help me. I will help you, the ghost promised. Have I not saved you many times? Did I not lead you through the maze and teach you to use your powers? Do you want revenge for your sister or not? I didn't like the ghost's tone of voice. He reminded me of a kid at my old school, a bully who used to convince other kids to do stupid things like steal lab equipment and vandalize the teacher's cars. The bully never got into trouble himself, but he got tons of other kids suspended. Nico turned from the fire so the ghost couldn't see him, but I could. A tear traced its way down his face. Very well. You have a plan? Oh, yes, the ghost said, sounding quite pleased. We have many dark roads to travel. We must start. The image shimmered. Nico vanished. The woman's voice from the mist said, Please deposit 1 drachma for another 5 minutes. There were no other coins in the fountain. I grabbed for my pockets, but I was wearing pajamas. I lunged for the nightstand to check for spare change, but the iris message had already blinked out. The room went dark again. The connection was broken. I stood in the middle of the cabin, listening to the gurgle of saltwater fountain and the ocean waves outside. Nico was alive. He was trying to bring his sister back from the dead, and I had a feeling I knew whose soul he wanted to exchange. Someone who had cheated death. Vengeance. Nico D'Angelo would come looking for me. Well, at least we have a good news. Nico is alive. And we also know, I mean, we kind of knew that he would want revenge. I just find it very out of character for Nico to do all of this, but then again, trauma can mess up your head. Maybe that's it. Um, so a lot happened in chapter 2, and I'm worried about Grover, I'll be very honest. 1 week, and what if it wasn't, um, after what everything they went through, and I went through with them, I really doubt if that was Pan's voice. What if it wasn't Pan's voice? What if it was Kronos playing mind games with Grover to try to lead Percy and everyone into his trap? What if Kronos has killed Pan? What if as you can see, I'm spiraling here. Maybe we could do the 2 other chapters tomorrow, because I'm getting tired. The phone is running out of battery and I cannot exactly charge it right now. So, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoy this type of videos. Seriously, do comment, do like, so that I know that you guys are enjoying me talking about all of this and me reading it to you in general. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys next time. Bye.